what we call a triple bottom line, where a lot of businesses focus on a single bottom line, which is profit. We focus on community sustainability and profit. So everything that we purchase that goes into our meads is locally sourced, fair trade, and organic. All of the renovations that we did in that first round of renovations were all done with sustainable, repurposed materials from local construction sites. And, we were able to tie that all together. And it's just really important for us to keep those three items. Of course, profit is very important to a business, but the sustainability and community side of it is, again, bigger than we are. And by focusing on our efforts on that, it helps develop a great story and a great business model.
It does. And you kind of like a meadery on a mission,
Yeah, to say the least.
Sorry, I tend to think in terms of marketing bites. It's the way my brain is. It's the way my brain is wired. But I think that's really cool though, because I'm from a small town too, and I watched the town die when they build the bypass, when they take the railroad away, or when, in my case, when the shipping trade stopped coming in, because I was in a coastal town on the Great Lakes, and you suddenly watch everything just kind of wither away, and it's hard to see, especially if this is where if you've got deep roots there. That's huge. So,
yeah,
I'm really tickled to see that you're doing something like that. So, what has changed in the town since? You guys have been open now for 5 years, right?
We'll be an open. Let's see, 6 years in February. So
okay.
It's crazy. A lot has changed. I think. There's still people that live in this town that when they drive by, they still think we're a butcher shop. But
well, that goes well with the whole meat.
Well, it got to the point where we re-renovated again and put in a restaurant, so that way it's a half-truth.
Yeah, can you say, yes, we have meat, we have mead and meat.
Yeah. So, I think some of the people in our community have really seen what we've done, and we've got a lot of great press in the state and in our area, and I think we've given a lot of people hope. At least I hope we have. We're two young guys that just kind of had an idea, and I remember in the very beginning, a lot of the times I'd hear, "Oh, how's that wine thing going? How's that going? How's that thing going?" and it's amazing that over years it's like, "Oh yeah, it's great. We're doing, we're having fun," and that's really my knee-jerk response. Well, we're having a great time. It's doing really well. You need to come in and visit. But I think the general sense is these two guys have, we renovated a little tiny building, and now we've re-renovated over 2015 to this much larger location with food and a more pub atmosphere. And I think people are now looking at us going, wait a minute, these guys are doing it. They're going for it, and they're doing it. And we have a lot more people coming in. We have a lot more regulars. We have a lot more people staying longer now that we have great little tables, and we have, bar games, and, just it's a great atmosphere, and it's a great place for people to come and hang out. And a lot of times we get people coming in, and they kind of look around the neighborhood, and they're like, what are we about to get ourselves into? And then they walk in the door, and they're like, wow, this could be in Boston. Wow, this could be in San Francisco. This could be, and it's not what you would expect when you walk in the door. And
cool.
Immediately you can just see them relax. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see what we're doing. And that's just what we get to see. What a lot of people don't see is the benefit we have to local agriculture. As far as we support a lot of beekeepers, we support a lot of sap houses and sugar houses. We support a lot of fruit growers. We're buying tremendous amounts of fruit now. We don't use any concentrates, extracts, or anything of the like. So everything's whole fruit, right from the farm. And we have a little bit of a criteria that people have to go through to even be put into our meads. So it's really a fully transparent company that really focuses on that wholesome ingredient, wholesome product, and wholesome experience.
So I heard you say, and Manny's going, Sap House is so cool on the back channel chat. But yeah, I heard you say Sap Houses. I know you guys have got a butt ton of maple trees up there. So you guys have, and I think I actually have a bottle stashed somewhere on the other side of the country now. Yeah, don't you have like a maple? You have a maple mead, don't you?
We do.
Acer Glen, as people like to call it.
Acer Glen. That's right. Yeah, that was one of the first meads we put out when we opened. I started making a maple mead back in 2003, just as a hobbyist. As like many mead makers, you make mead, you give it away for family and friends, and I did a lot of that. And the maple mead always stuck out to me, and a lot of my friends and family really loved it, to the point where they nearly expected it every year. It was something that we could build on. And in New England, sap houses are huge. I mean, the maple syrup industry is a tremendous industry that we, pun intended, can tap into. And so it does have its benefit to have access to that. New England, as far as mead making, if you want to follow a business plan like ours where it's all locally sourced, we do have our own threats to it, and that's New England has very short growing periods, so the honey here is always a little bit more expensive than most places across the country. So that does have its threats. So we kind of balance things out.
How are you able to get the maple flavor? Because so many people have written on gotmead.com about trying to make maple mead and it losing its flavor if they ferment maple syrup and water. Do you guys add it afterwards, or is that a trade secret? Or?
I mean, there's a couple trade secrets in there, but for the most part, there are times we do back sweeten, but it's not necessarily all the time. There are times where the real trick to making good maple mead is super dark maple syrup. And, a lot of times out in the world, and even the tourists that come up to this area always buy the grade A kind of clear maple syrup and tastes like candy. And
that's no good.
That's what everybody loves, but that's not really what you want for, making a wine or a mead out of it. So super duper dark, totally end of the spectrum maple syrup will help with bringing out some of those maple characteristics.
Yeah, I've never seen anything but grade A amber, or whatever I guess is what they call it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you get for living in Florida.
All the locals around here know that the darker the better. That doesn't leave New England.
I grew up in northern Michigan, and while there are maple trees, certainly not in the concentration y'all have in New England, but I knew people who had enough maple trees to make syrup, so I got to be around it. And I like the dark, rich, thick, with all kind. There's so much flavors going, so many different flavors going on in it.
Yeah.
That it's not even in the same, wheelhouse as the grade A. Which I've got a buddy who lives in Vermont, and he sends me like the super awesome tiny little bottles of syrup every year. It's like, and I hoard that. It's like 4 drops on my pancakes. Because it'll be gone, and then I can't get any more until next year. But because that level of syrup down where I live now, and where I'm usually living, except I'm in Washington State right now, but in North Carolina, that that type of syrup costs an arm and a leg in your firstborn child just to get your hands on it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Maple syrup is certainly very expensive.
Well, I live where there's a lot of it too, and it's been getting more and more expensive as the years go by too.
Yeah, up here I think maple syrup retails for about $70 to $75 a gallon.
Yeah, wow. That's about what I paid the last time I bought. Of course, it's Canadian, but.
That went up. See, the Canadians control the market on maple syrup. So back about 8 years, there was literally a maple syrup drought, and Canada called on that, and the prices went up nearly 50%.
Yeah, and they
Whoa.
haven't really come back down either, even though we've had some better seasons since that year.
Yeah, and I don't think you will.
Well, no, if they can get that much for it, why would they drop their prices?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we have one of the largest purchasers of maple syrup in New Hampshire called Bascom's, and they're another big company that can help Canada in controlling the market and keeping those prices high. But yeah, I mean, fortunately, with the volume we go through, we certainly don't have to pay those prices. But if you know anyone in New England that has friends that either tap trees and do that, they certainly most of the time like to trade mead for it. So just as a tip.
Yeah. So do you always use the dark syrup? I mean, do you ever work with the sap itself, or is it always the finished product?
I don't, and I'm sure I'm going to offend a few people when I say this, but sap, it's great. It's a great story, but what you get through fermentation, sap is less than 2% sugar out of a tree, and what you're really putting in there is cloudy water.
Hey, you're going to get slapped around by the Sap House people now.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, they do what they do with it. They love that. But as far as making, I know people that make beer out of it. I know people have made mead out of it, and I have done that. Is it a discerning difference? I don't believe so, but it does make a great story.
Yeah, well, I was curious because Moniac Meadery in Scotland does a birch sap mead that's really interesting. It's very good. It's totally different than a lot of regular styles of meads because birch sap. But it's really good and interesting. And I was just wondering if maple sap had any of the same kind of characteristics to lend a unique flavor.
It does. Birch is actually a even stranger flavor. So we worked with a gentleman named Michael Farrell. He's the director of maple research at Cornell University, and he sent us syrups and saps of butternut, black walnut, birch, and maple, and we were able to work on all of those. We were actually featured in his book that he put out a couple of years ago, and the birch is an interesting thing to work with, and it's even more expensive than maple syrup. Maple is 40 gallons to 1, so it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. Birch is 100 to 1. It takes 100 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of birch syrup. And birch syrup, typically, at least on the East Coast in New Hampshire, there's one guy that does it. It's about $400 a gallon.
Oh my God!
And
yeah,
it's ridiculous. We have 3 gallons of it at Sap House, which you will see a birch mead come out. Of course, it's going to be very rare and probably very expensive. But
yeah, that's that $200 a bottle
flavor.
stuff for $350 ml.
Oh boy, I hope not.
Yeah, well, hey, you wouldn't be the first. You wouldn't be the first or even the 10th meadery to have done that, and they're all selling well. I mean,
yeah.
Fairbrother does that with his Utopia number 9, and every time he puts it out there, it goes foop, and it's gone at $175. Yeah. I've got 2 bottles of it, and Heart of Darkness is another one. So there's lots of Odin at Mike Falls. Odin, $150 a bottle, I think it is. So, and every time they do a release, they're like poof. Literally, if you haven't got there, it's like buying Jimmy Buffett tickets. You got to have your finger on the button. It's like, wait, what?
Jimmy Buffett tickets. That's funny.
Have you ever tried to buy Jimmy Buffett tickets? I mean, the parrot heads are everywhere, and they're terrifyingly fast. Fins to the left, fins to the right. But I mean, it was just really interesting because I had the birch mead when I was in Scotland, and it was just amazing, And I had never had.
It's a crazy flavor.
It is a very crazy flavor. And is that the same thing they use to make birch beer? The sap?
No, typically birch beer is. I mean, yes and no. In the old days, that's how they would make it. But birch beer is typically made with wintergreen and black birch.